Now, once again, Raymond Arroyo.
Welcome back. My next guest is the president of the Catholic League, a tireless defender of religious freedom here in the U.S. and abroad. He's also a sociologist by trade, to discuss some big stories of the week and his new book, which uses that trade very well, The Catholic Advantage: Why Health, Happiness, and Heaven Await the Faithful. Welcome, Bill Donohue. Bill,
how you doing, Raymond?
Welcome back to the program. Glad you could join us on set. This book is a big departure for you. Yeah, I mean, this is not Bill sort of taking on the culture. This is Bill Donohue, the sociologist. Why did you decide to talk about well-being, essentially?
Well, you know, I spend my day defending the Catholic Church against bigots, not against critics, but against people who, it's a judgment call, I think have hit below the belt. But why am I doing that? Well, because the Catholic Church, I believe, is the answer to our problems, individual problems and social problems. And what I've known for a number of years, for reasons I wasn't exactly sure of, that people of faith are much more likely to be of good mental and physical health and more likely to be happy. I wanted to try to explore that a little bit, and I thought, well, and the more I did, I'll be glad to describe. Yep. But in the short answer to what you're saying is that the reason I defend the Catholic Church with such vigor is precisely because it does hold the ingredients to the good life.
This is the kinder, gentler Bill Donohue.
Well, people just judge me by beating up on liberals on TV, which I will continue to do, or anybody who thrashes the church. You don't have to be a liberal to do that. I should correct that. I've been dealt with a number of conservatives, particularly lately, who I don't think have been too fond of the Catholic Church, but whoever they might be. The fact of the matter is, I have a rougher edge when I'm debating somebody on air, but that's not the totality of who I am. And I think anybody who knows me, as you do, know that not exactly news that I might have a soft spot.
No, but it's an this book relies a great deal on data, on real experience. We're going to get into it in a minute.
Right.
I want to draw you back into the Bill Donohue that people know and love.
The pugilistic Bill.
That we got to show. We got to bare the teeth a little bit, Bill.
Okay.
Cardinal Egan died in New York this week. There was an obit in the New York Times to which you took some offense. It called him a stern defender of Catholic orthodoxy who, quote, called the police to oust protesters from a church. Why were you so upset by this obit?
Well, let's just take the first part. Look, I don't mind if people want to be critical of Cardinal Egan or Cardinal Dolan or the Pope or myself or anybody. But the fact of the matter is, this is an obituary. It's supposed to be an obituary. Now, if you want to mention some shortcomings of anybody who's deceased, I think that's okay. This read as a negative editorial. I mean, they took these shots at him. I mean, first of all, what is the purpose of opening up by saying a stern defender of the orthodoxy? Is there any archbishop or bishop in the United States or any place in the world who we wouldn't expect to defend the orthodoxy? Don't they defend the orthodoxy of the editorial position of the New York Times at the New York Times? And why the sternness? I mean, stern or otherwise. What? And now they went after him because they said he defended the church's position on homosexuality, abortion. You know, they went right down the whole list because the entire corpus of Catholic teachings, according to the New York Times, deals with matters sexual. That's not true for Catholics, but that's the vision there. Now, the other part here, they're saying about the
but he called the cops to get protesters out of a church.
A couple of years ago in East Harlem, there were some people who didn't like the idea that they had to close one of the schools. That's my old area, and that is tough. There's no question about it. So what they did is they camped out in a church for a couple of days. Well, they sent in the priest. And they said, "Would you please leave?" They won't leave. And so, of course, they had to call the cops at some point. You just don't. Now, if I took over, if I got some of my Irish buddies from my pub, and we showed up at the New York Times editorial office, and we decided we don't like the way you're handling things, we're going to be a squatter, we're going to hang out here for a while. Are they not going to call the cops on Bill Donohue? I mean, look,
let's not try it, Bill. Well, I'll have to come bail you out.
Right, I'll bring my baseball bats as well. Then they'll really call the cops.
Okay, all right, easy there. I said a little rougher edge, not the baseball bat.
Right.
Let's talk about the St. Patrick's Day parade, which you marched in for 20 years.
Right.
You're not marching this year out of protest. They are allowing a gay group to march, just one, and a pro-life group that asked to march as well were denied acceptance into the parade.
Right.
What's the problem here?
Well, here's the problem. Let's go back here. But for 20 years, I've been going on television and radio in New York and elsewhere, saying that the people who run the St. Patrick's Day parade are not anti-gay any more than they're anti-life. My point was they don't allow people to march under their own banner for a cause. In other words, whether it's abortion or whether it's gay rights or whatever it is, if you're gay and you're pro-life and you want to march, I even went on the radio in New York City. So if you're gay, you want to march with me, that's okay, because I don't go around asking people what you do in bed and with whom as a condition of marching. Just blend in, pro-life and well. Well, so when they said, listen, we're going to allow one gay group in, some of the leaders of this, or of the parade committee, I said, so where's the pro-life group then? Because if you're going to break the precedent, and you said you're going to allow them in under their own banner, you have to have a pro-life. Some people said, well, Bill Donohue is equating pro-life with pro-gay. I'm not. I'm simply trying to say there's an equal platform here. Once you allow people for a gay cause, what about the pro-life cause? And they said, yes, there will be a pro-life cause group under their own banner. And then I found out I was lied to. And I'm not a person, I have my own integrity. I am not going to take this thing lying down. I don't like being lied to. So I pulled the Catholic League unit and I made the right decision. I'm very proud of it. I wish everybody has a great time on St. Patrick's Day, but I'm not going to be used by people.
Cardinal Dolan is the Grand Marshal. There have been a lot of emails to me in the ensuing, really over the last few months since this erupted. Cardinal Dolan's there. What is the message? Is this an endorsement of the gay unit in the parade and this approach? Is the parade not a liturgy? It's not that important? Is it just another display, or is it a church-related activity?
Well, there are some people I know high up in the parade committee, not the guy who runs it, John Donohue. I think he's been used. But there are some other people who have a secular agenda. They want to take an Irish Catholic parade and turn it into an Irish parade. In other words, they want to neuter, they want to gut the Catholic element. They're very clear about it. I'm talking about Irish Central, Neil O'Dowd, the people who write for him, John Leahy, the president of Quinnipiac University, who's one of the organizers in this. I'm naming the names. They're there. And NBC, isn't that cute? They're the ones who put the parade on TV. Isn't it cute that the one gay group is from NBC? Isn't that cute? Now, look, they're playing games here, and what they want to do in 2016 is to have more gay groups come in there and crash the parade. Look, we have a gay pride parade in New York City. Fine, all right? Now, why can't people just blend in like everybody else? Why is it that people, I thought your sexual expression was something that was noted in private. Why does that have to have such a public display? I mean, this is what's happening, and the elites in New York, not just here with the parade committee. I'm talking about the financial elites, Wall Street. They're all pro-gay marriage. That's their business. I'm not in favor of two men getting married, but they're using the parade now to make a political statement, and I think it's abhorrent.
I want to talk about 4 Catholic publications. Came out, our Sunday Visitor, the National Catholic Reporter, America Magazine, and the National Catholic Register.
Right.
And they issued a statement saying the death penalty must end. That was the quote.
Right.
And that it's aberrant. They really were equating it with objective evil, practically. Your take on this?
Well, my feeling is this. The Catholic Church is presumptively opposed to the death penalty. That is to say, in almost all instances, it is not unequivocal. It leaves the door open in certain select instances. That's not the case with abortion. Abortion is intrinsically evil. There are no exceptions on abortion. Why didn't they, if they're concerned about life issues, begin with the most elementary right to life, the baby having a right to be born? Why did they begin with the serial murderers who are on death row as opposed to the innocent child in the mother's womb?
Well, they claim in a month there's going to be a Supreme Court case that's going to examine the death penalty.
Listen, the National Catholic Reporter is pro-abortion. All right? That's why they have for years allowed Francis Kissling and others to run their ads in Catholics. I've debated the people from National Catholic Reporter. I've asked them these questions on with Chris Matthews and others. So for them to get in there, I mean, it's a joke. In fact, I think the National Catholic Reporter is oftentimes patently anti-Catholic. Not all the writers. They've got some good people there. But there's been some things done there over the past number of years. No wonder a number of bishops have condemned them. I wouldn't be associated with them for anything.
I want to play this for you. This is Cardinal Avery Dulles, who I interviewed several times. And when you talk about this being verboten somehow in the church, the fact is, as you stated a moment ago, the Catechism allows, and the church has always traditionally allowed, capital punishment. Now, they say there's almost no reason to use it, but it leaves that to the discretion of the state, coldly administered with justice. Listen to Cardinal Dulles.
Never been any teaching that the death penalty is intrinsically evil. In fact, the contrary, I think, is taught even by the present Pope, who obviously doesn't particularly like the death penalty. I think he's opposed to it on pragmatic grounds. He says, no, there are circumstances where it is necessary to use the death penalty. Right. And, of course, the Church has been supported the death penalty down through the centuries, and there's a great deal in Scripture in support of the death penalty.
Cardinal Dulles referring there to John Paul II.
And what about an issue which is more pressing than the death penalty today? Leaving aside abortion, I've addressed that. It's called doctor-assisted suicide. Why don't we have people coming out with statements on that thing there? But I just think it's got a political overtone to it.
I want to get to your book before we run out of time. Where did this come from? This notion that, and the way you framed this, that if you want the 3 H's, health, happiness, heaven, you have to have the 3 B's. What are the 3 B's?
The 3 B's are beliefs, bonds, and boundaries. Beliefs, people of faith, compared to people who have no faith, agnostics and atheists. Those are the I look at the Catholic vision and the secular vision. People of faith are much healthier in terms of mental health, much healthier in terms of physical health, much happier. I didn't make this up. I looked at all the research that's been done on this. In terms of heaven, I would argue that it's reasonable to conclude that people who are charitable in their giving, self-giving, as judged by contributions, by voluntarism, by blood.
How do you quantify heaven, Bill?
You can't, but I'm saying certain kind of behavioral attributes, such as self-giving, charitable giving, and the like, and altruism. As an index of altruism, I chose the study by the Jewish couple, did a magnificent job, the altruistic personality. People of faith were the most likely to risk their lives to save Jews during the Holocaust, not the self-absorbed individualists. So if you, and by the way, on the agnostic atheist side, I look at Hollywood celebrities and intellectuals. Some people might say they have nothing in common, the airheads from Hollywood and the great deep thinkers in the professoriate. Well, they have one thing in common. The Hollywood celebrities have no time for God, and the intellectuals, of course, they're smarter than God. They don't need God. They are unhappy. They are not healthy. And in terms of charitable giving, these people who are decidedly on the left, they give the least amount of money than anybody in the United States. That's why Mississippi and Utah are at the top of giving, and the worst places wherever the left lives, college towns, Providence, Rhode Island, Boston, Massachusetts, San Francisco, their idea of charity is to pick the pocket of the taxpayer through taxation, not to give of themselves.
You mentioned in the book that mass attendance and prayer actually extend your life. How does this happen?
Well,
what does the data tell us?
Well, the data tell us something like this. They even have these double-blind studies where they ask people to pray for someone whom they don't know, and the person being prayed for doesn't know that that person is being prayed for, and they do better. Now, I don't say that I have the answer to all these things. I am saying there's a clear difference between, and you take a look at the cloistered nuns, which I look at.
Right, you mentioned cloistered nuns at lunch.
Who's happier, the Kim Kardashians of the Hollywood crowd?
It would appear
who run around,
Bill.
Who bounce from one bed to the other, who always strung out,
but wait
these people?
Here's what they would say to you. They're jet setting.
Yeah.
They've got the attention of the world.
Yeah.
They're validated.
Right.
They can do whatever they want. Isn't that happiness, ultimate freedom?
I look
restraints?
at depression. I look at loneliness. I look at suicide. People who are suicidal. And why is it in broken relationships? Hollywood is loaded with them. The intellectuals, going back to Rousseau, right up through Hemingway, right up to today, my friend Christopher Hitchens. These people are miserable, chain-smoking, alcoholics, jet-setting, bed jumping. I mean, they are unhappy people. Why does Lady Gaga go to the psychiatrist all the time? Why does David Letterman go to the psychiatrist all the time? Why don't the cloistered nuns? Why are the cloistered nuns so happy? Why do they live so long? What about the saints? They had their dark moments, perhaps, and they started off often on the wrong foot. But when they got on the right foot with Jesus, boy, they made some tremendous strides. There's no question about it. Priests are the happiest of any occupation profession in the United States. Priests, contrary to what everything you've read. Now, if you want to find out misery, go meet the local professors. Go into Hollywood and meet some of those gals. And you want to meet the happy people, meet the priests, the nuns, particularly the cloistered nuns.
Yeah,
those are the people.
You spend a lot of time on cloistered nuns here and religious, particularly one very close to my heart, Mother Angelica and Mother Dolores Hart, who's been a guest on the show.
I have a section in the book about them. Two wonderful women.
Why? Why did you highlight those lives?
Because, people have the idea that if you're a cloistered nun, you live in a cocoon, you're some kind of a nerd, you don't don't deal with the real world. Really, they deal with the people who show up at their door. People who are despondent, who are morally destitute, poor people who are, I don't mean just poor materially, but poor spiritually, people who are broken for all kinds of different reasons. And cloistered nuns, we have such a stereotype about them. They are the healthiest and happiest of any segment of the population. Hollywood women have an awful lot to learn from Mother Angelica and Mother Dolores.
Tell me for a moment, you talk about alcohol, drug use, crime,
right,
and that there's a connection, a profound one, to religiosity.
Absolutely, and promiscuity. I mean, the people who have, look, the people who have nothing in their life but themselves, the self-absorbed, they are the people most likely to be involved in crime, to take these crazy risks, to be involved with STDs, people of faith, practicing faith, not just nominal Catholics, by the way. They don't work out too well, as I pointed out in the book. I mean people who take their faith seriously. These people here don't wind up with the kind of maladies that affect the Hollywood crowd and the intellectuals, the professoriate, in terms of mental and physical disabilities, and they tend to be a lot happier.
Now, in the book, I mean, it's called The Catholic Advantage, but it really, many of the studies you cite are much broader than that. It's really people of faith. It's really believers as opposed to non-believers,
yes,
right?
it is, but most of the data in this country are obviously drawn from Catholics, Protestants, and Jews, so it's a little harder to get the data on the others. And I'd also say something, people who are spiritual but not religious don't do as well. All right? That comes out pretty clearly in the book as well.
Now, that would seem to cut against everything you see and read, Bill.
Right.
Because,
that's why one of the reasons I wrote the book is to debunk the mythology.
I mean, if you watch some of these shows,
right,
if you read some of the self-help books, and I've
right,
seen a good number of them, they say, look, spirituality, you're being fed, you're in touch with something out there,
right,
and you're not judging anyone else. And isn't that a better, cleaner way to live than you with your strictures and your judgmental attitude?
Well, if that were the case, then the people engaged in all these Eastern religions and yoga and meditation, stuff like that, would be doing very well, but they don't do it. No, they're not. In fact, I go through that very, very clearly, and they bounce around from one religion to another. They keep wanting to find the easy way out. It's true. Catholicism raises the bar pretty high. I mean, Christianity, the Ten Commandments we got from our Jewish brothers and sisters, it's not easy to live that life. But better to set a high standard to try and clear it than to drop the bar so low that anybody can clear it. That's not the way. And the people, believe me, people are the healthiest and the happiest. And I rely a lot on Dr. Harold Koenig out of Duke University Medical Center, and all the other studies are there. I have it heavily footnoted because I don't want anybody to say, well, Bill Donohue just made this up. It's his opinion. Where did he get this stuff on epidemiology and the like? I got it from the natural scientists, and it took a faithful Catholic social scientist to explain it.
Who did you write this for? Who were you intending this book for when you started, and what do you think when you ended up?
Well, I mean, I think any person of faith will find something of wisdom, I hope, in this particular book. I think I want to make Catholics prouder. All they hear is negative news. Now, some of the negative news about the Catholic Church is indeed self-inflicted, but a lot of it is not. We're being bashed left and right, like Archbishop Cordileone out in San Francisco by these people out there to destroy him. And we have to fight back against them and these phonies out there. But quite frankly, there's so much about Catholics that's good. We do have an advantage, certainly over the agnostics and the atheists, the Hollywood crowd and the intellectuals. I mean, they're the ones who should envy us. I don't envy them. I don't want to be like them.
I'm going to ask my guest coming up, Rick Warren, what he's giving up for Lent. What is Bill Donohue giving up for Lent?
Well, it doesn't sound like much. I don't raise the bar too high, but this will come as a great surprise to you. I go to a pub, an Irish pub.
You do?
Yeah, and you know what they do? Noreen, this gal, she puts out popcorn all the time.
Oh, wait
and I'm always grabbing the popcorn.
Wait a minute.
I gave up the popcorn. I gave up the potato chips. I gave up all the salt stuff that goes with the beer.
But not the stuff in the glass.
No, listen, Cardinal Dolan does that, but he's a better Catholic than me.
Oh, boy, you are setting the bar low. Bill Donohue, thank you for being here. The book, The Catholic Advantage, Why Health, Happiness, and Heaven Await the Faithful, is available at bookstores everywhere, online, and through the EWTN Religious Catalog. To follow Bill Donohue and the work of the Catholic League, visit CatholicLeague.org.